Hey guys, in this episode I'm going to show you how you can test filament resources, specifically the create form. So just a little bit of setup I've done. I've created the posts resource, and I'm going to create the post model with all of its fields in the migration. Just to save you some time, I've added the fields already. I've added a publish toggle, a title, a slug, and a content field. So this is them there. Publish stat is actually a date time, but I feel like a toggle is better for the user experience sort of thing, because you don't want to be like putting in a date time for when you're publishing. It doesn't really make any sense. So to get that to work, I've added this. So on the create posts class, in the post resources folder, I've added this filament function. So this is Filament's way of letting you change the data before it creates the model. So it's a mutate form data before create. So for the publish stat, I'm saying if the publish stat is true, then just pass it the current date time, and if it's not, make it null, because it's a nullable field. And then also I'm adding in the user ID as just the current authenticated user. So quickly, we're just going to do a manual test. So I've set the publish to true, and I've just added all the fields in already, and if we create, yep, everything's working. So this is my testing file. As in previous episodes, I'm setting the current panel to the customer panel so that everything works. I'm just creating myself an auth user, and so this would be the first test, so it can render the page. So I'm using the get helper from pest, and then I am passing in the post resource. So again, the post resource is the resource that I just created, and then they have this function called get URL, and sorry, this should be create. And so I'm getting the create URL for the post resource. So you can test this, yep. And you can use this get URL for any of the pages. So you could use the index, which is the default, and you could do the edit, but this will fail because you need to pass in the actual resource. So you would have to go record and then pass in a post model. So if we just do this quickly, and this should now pass. So that test passed, so we will change it back, because obviously this is for the create form, and we'll just test that pass again. Yes, it does, and this will be our first proper test for testing the functionality of the page. So it can create a post. So again, we are using the Livewire pest plugin, and then we're passing in the create post class. Now you don't pass in the post resource, you pass in the create post class. We are then filling the form with just some fake dummy data, and again, publish stat is a boolean, but it's actually a date time. And then we're calling the create. We're certain it has no form errors. And then afterwards, we are just checking that the database contains this. So the post database, sorry, and then just checking it has all the data. And as you can see, the user ID is the authenticated user ID, because that's what we are setting here. And this test should now pass. Great, yep. The next test I want to do is to make sure that these fields are all required. So obviously, because in the database they are actually required. So if they weren't required in the resource, then it would throw an error. So if we go back to our test, and this would be the actual test. So it validates that the required fields. So we are doing the same thing as above here, but this time we're literally passing it a blank array. And then we're calling the create again, and then we are asserting it has form errors. So you pass in the actual fields, and then you can pass in the error that you're expecting. This should pass. Yes, it does. And so you don't actually need this, so you can get rid of this if you wanted to. But now you're not specifying the error that it should have. You're just specifying, oh, there should be an error in these fields. So I've just slightly changed the functionality of the form. So now I've made this slug disabled, and then after the state updated of the title, I'm setting the slug. So basically just creating an automatic slug. And so in my test file, I can test this. So this is the test. It can automatically create a slug from the title. So this would be the title, and I'm again just using the fill form, and then I'm passing the title, and then Filament has this helper function called assert form set. So you can just pass in an array of data, and you're just asserting that the slug has been set. So it's filled in the data into the form already for you, and then it's already been generated. So you can actually test this functionality, which is great. Yep, and that passes. So for this assert form set help function as well, you can actually pass in a callback function, and then you can do your assertions in here, which is really handy if you've got more complex data and you just want to check that it's set properly. So if we dump this, we should see, yes, so it's got all of the data in there, and then again I'm just asserting that the slug is equal to a slug generated from the title. So I've changed the functionality again slightly, so now instead of just it being disabled completely for everybody, I've just said if they aren't an admin. So we can test this again. So this would be the test. It lets you edit the slug if you're an admin. So we're just we're using the create post class, and now there's another helper function from Filament. So assert form field is disabled, and now we're asserting that the slug is disabled, and then we are updating the is admin to true, and then we are asserting that the form field is enabled. So if we test that, yep, it's passing, but if we remove that, it would fail because it's expecting the user to be an admin for them to be able to edit it. So if we look at the docs, there's also this way of testing hidden fields. So assert form field is visible, and then assert form field is hidden. So that's just another way of testing. So if you want to make a field hidden under some condition, you could test that condition. So this is the next test. It has the right label for the publish app. Now this is probably not something I would test because there's no condition. You're just setting the label to publish. But I just want to use it as an example for this assert form field exists. So this is a really powerful helper function from Filament. So you pass in the field name, and then you pass it a callback function, and as you can see here, it's actually passing in the field of publish at, so it's passing in the toggle. So here we are given the field, and then we can use the functions on the field. So if we look at all of these functions, so we go get, we can get the label, we can get loads of things, extra attribute. So if you want to see if you added an extra class attribute onto it or something like that, you can test all of that. So if we test this now, yep, that's passing. So yeah, I just wanted to show this one because I think it's really powerful if you want to test all of the other things that are put on a field. So that's about it for testing the create form. There's some other stuff to do with testing the create form, but I feel like that deserves its own separate video. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please do hit the like and subscribe button. I've left a link to the GitHub repository with this code in, and to the Filament Testing docs for the create form. So if you want to check that out, then please do. And I will see you in the next video.